The Maple Leafs win Game 3 in Tampa and take a 2-1 series lead. Soupy was unbelievable. The depth came to play, but Dave, the superstars didn't. But guess what? I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, and I'll tell you why on today's YouTube exclusive edition of Locked On Leafs.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Leafs podcast, one-stop shop for all things Leafs. I'm your host, Mike DiStefano from TSN 1050 Toronto Radio, also known as Al's brother from TSN's Overdrive and TSN 1050's Leafs Lunch. Joining me, it's my co-host, Dave Morassutti from Sportsnet, also writer for the NHLPA, and Locked On Leafs is a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast, so be sure to subscribe if you can. This is a YouTube exclusive, Dave. This is the first time that we've done one. This is a bonus episode for our YouTube family, and we just were so jacked up. I know typically we do podcasts from Monday to Friday. Each morning you get a new pod, new Leafs centric podcast for you. Get you caught up on everything that's going on. We have great analysis, we have good previews, interviews, all that stuff. But we were so jacked up after this Game 3 victory against the Tampa Bay Lightning, we knew we just had to hop on and chat about it right away because our hearts were just racing right now. I mean, a 5-2 victory. Leafs take Game 3, now hold a 2-1 series lead. I mean, dude, how you feeling?
Man, there were some tense moments in that game. Like this was a game I think the Leafs need to prove that they could win. The first game they're up 5-0. There wasn't really much sense of danger. This one, oh boy, it was. Oh man, it had my heart going at times. Just like because when they made it 3-2, I'm just like,
It got
oh,
close. Yeah, it did.
But oh man, like you know what? It was. I think what it just shows though is that this team, when things were getting tough for them, didn't stop them. They didn't have their big boys going, as you mentioned. Their best players weren't exactly their best players. They were there. They had their impact on the game, but it was the unsung heroes. It was those guys that everyone's like, he could be an X factor in this series, and a few of them proved tonight that they are definitely X factors.
Yeah, let's roll through and give just like the love to the guys. We'll start with our 3 stars today because I just want to get right to it and chat about these guys. Third star of the game, I'm going to give it to Pierre Engvall. Thought that guy was fantastic tonight. Obviously, gets credited for the 2 assists on the empty netters for Mikheyev, but also massive play that allowed the goal from oh, why am I blanking here? Who scored that goal? Kampf? No. Who scored that goal?
The third goal?
Kerfoot?
No, it was Kampf. So first goal was why am I blank?
Right? I'm blanking here. Hold on. I'm looking it up.
Okay, first goal was Riley. Second goal was
Blackwell's goal. Blackwell's goal.
Okay.
Pierre Engvall setting that one up. But it was like, roll the tape back. Pierre Engvall had a great stick lift on the Tampa Bay player who was right out in front of Campbell. Could have had a second opportunity off the rebound. And he gets a quick little stick lift, and that allows them to break the puck out. And he quickly joins the rush, uses his speed the way that he always does, and ends up getting an assist on the play. And like it really all stemmed from his stick lift and allowing them to turn the puck over in the D zone and turning it into offense. Lyubushkin comes out of the box, joins the rush, makes a sweet little pass. Tic-tac-toe. I mean, Blackwell fires it right into the back of the net, right? So Blackwell scored. Kampf had 2. Mikheyev had 2, or Kampf had 1. Mikheyev had 2, and the rest is history there. Morgan Riley did open up the scoring on the power play, so they were able to get a goal on the power play. And really, I mean, this was just a game where the depth stepped up because the big boys didn't. Let's be honest. None of them did. Not Matthews, not Marner, certainly not Tavares, certainly not William Nylander. But the fact that they could gut out a victory against the Tampa Bay Lightning with none of those guys going and just seeing these other role depth players stepping up, I mean, that's got to be huge, man. Like that has to be big, and the fact they essentially almost stole a victory in that sense. Because if you would have told me that Riley, or if you would have told me that Matthews, Marner, Tavares, and Nylander, none of them were going to hit the score sheet, none of them were going to factor in offensively outside the one power play goal,
Mhm.
and this team was going to win 5-2, I'd have said you're crazy, absolutely insane. But that's not what happened. These guys stepped up. Engvall steps up, had a big time game. I want to share a text chain that I had with my uncle. Okay. My uncle's a very old school fella, very old school. And I got this text pre-game from him. And it said, I can't believe it. They sat Simmons and left the giraffe Engvall in. My response, Engvall's infinitely better than Simmons, LOL. He says, come on. Yeah, Simmons is slowed down, but Engvall has no hockey sense whatsoever. I respond, that's just not true. He says he constantly gives the puck away as soon as he's pressured. Said he's so much better than he was last year, and he's way better than he was. And he said, maybe you should watch the entire games instead of the highlights. This is my uncle talking. I'm like, dude, I do this for a living. At this point, I'm thinking he's trying to get under my stick. But anyways, I respond to that by saying, I bet you Engvall forces some turnovers with his active stick, extends ozone time, probably gets a few scoring chances too, and he'll be extremely effective on the penalty kill. Not even 8 seconds after I press send. Oh, look at that. Stick lift to negate the rebound chance. Puck goes the other way, and they score. His response, look at what? He stood there looking all confused. Are you kidding me?
You're not winning that. You're not
Are
winning
you
that.
kidding me? And then at the end of the game, I said, selfless play by Engvall. Another great, smart chip off the boards to his speedster winger for the icing on the cake. 3 assists tonight. Not too shabby. Probably a good thing he played tonight, eh? His response, still sucks. Okay. Like, okay, boomer. That's the most okay boomer thing
Yep.
I've ever heard in my life. But goes to say, I'm a big time fan of Pierre Engvall, and he had a great game. Really factored into the victory, most definitely. And I tweeted this out on the Locked On Leafs Twitter account. If you are one of these people, like my uncle, you're kind of old school, and you just wish there was more like tenacity out of Pierre Engvall, and you think that he's not a good player because of it. I don't know what to tell you, man, but like, if you're not a good player, your coach isn't going to put you out there to kill the game in a 1-goal hockey game in the final 2 minutes of the game, in a playoff game at that. You're
No.
gonna sit there and tell me that Pierre Engvall stinks and he's low hockey IQ, he's no good. Come on now. Come on now.
Yeah, I know. This is just a person who your uncle who has watched hockey all of his life, who has an opinion about bigger players that can skate that are supposed to finish every check and punch everything in sight. I
This
get it. I
this
get it. But this is a new wave in the NHL. This is how things are kind of look. If your uncle probably loved the first 2 games of the Dallas Calgary series,
he probably did. You're not wrong. He
I fell
probably
asleep.
did.
Did I tell you I literally legitimately fell asleep
Yeah,
watching
it
that.
was boring games, man. 1-0 game, and basically the other one was 1-0 game two as well. It was an empty netter to make it 2-0. Yeah, basically. The Leafs series has been nothing but entertaining, right? Like from game one, it was
Yeah.
entertaining from a Maple Leaf standpoint because they were scoring a bunch of goals. Game two was still an entertaining game, and they made it close late, which upped the value, the entertainment value. And then in this one, I mean, I was on the edge of my seat right up until the final buzzer, right up until Ilya Mikheyev made it 4-2. I had full on anxiety, almost a panic attack watching the probably from like when they scored the second goal all the way until Mikheyev made it 4-2. And we can't get any further into this podcast without pumping the tires of Jack Campbell. I mean, the save he made on Steven Stamkos to me was just flat out the game saver right there, right? You allow that goal to tie game, all the momentum is going to shift towards Tampa Bay. They probably end up winning that game. He makes that stop where everyone in the building was already cheering, just anticipating that that was going to go into the back of the net. Stammer one timer on the power play from his office. 9 times out of 10, that's going in the back of the net. Soupy makes an unbelievable read, unbelievable stop, and holds the lead. And they kill off the penalty. They are able to then go on and put the icing on the cake. And why don't we play the radio call from the great Joe Bowen? Can we pull up that tweet? Joe Bowen, his call on the game on TSN 1050 on the 4-2 goal. So it's the Engvall to Mikheyev.
So I'm gonna give the Twitter account some love. Leafs Jelly HD. If you're not following him, you're missing out on some great Joe Bowen calls, by the way. So just gonna want to throw that in there. But here, I will pull the video up. You give me the cue when you're ready to go.
Play it.
All right, here we go.
3 of the Lightning in there trying to pry it along. Tick-tock, tick-tock. It goes to Kucherov. His pass back is out of the way. Racing after it is Engvall. He's got an empty net. Just put the damn thing in there. He does. Passing it to Mikheyev. The Leafs get an empty netter. And they are leading 4-2.
That's gold, man. Put the puck in the damn net. Put it in the damn net. That's what everybody
is nervous on a 2-on-0 with an empty net.
Well, especially when they decided to be really, really generous.
Pierre Engvall is
man.
Yeah,
what a call! What a call!
What a call by the great Joe Bowen. And like that's what everybody was saying to themselves. Like, just shoot, it's 2-on-0.
Dude, I when I saw it happening, I'm just like, don't overthink this. Don't overthink this. I'm like, he's overthinking it.
I'm like, is this guy gonna pull a Patrick Steff in here? Like that's what's going through my mind. I'm like, you can ice this game right freaking now. To put it in the back of the net. He slides it over to Mikheyev, who up until this season has had the worst puck luck of all time. And luckily, when you essentially give someone a tape-to-tape pass about a foot from the goal line inside the blue paint, you should be able to put it in there. He does. 4-2. They had one more for a happy measure. Mikheyev also. Another smart play by Engvall, too. Chipped it off the boards and knew that Mikheyev could get on the Jets, get to that puck, and really ice the game. 5-2. Hit the over, by the way, with that goal. A bet that I made today on Bet Online. So excited about that also. But really, like, this game was all about the depth. All about the depth. I know we were supposed to go through our 3 stars, and we kind of just started bouncing it around. But
we brought up 2 of mine already, Engvall and Campbell.
And then Kampf is going to be the other 3rd star, right?
Yeah.
Like David Kampf. The shot, where did that come from? Where has this David Kampf, what have they done with the David Kampf of old? I mean, this guy's on another level here in the playoffs. He's elevating his game, man. He really is. And like the deception of the shot is what kind of stands out. Kevin Bieksa did a great job kind of analyzing it in the intermission. The fact that he's just last minute opening up the blade or tilting it a little bit, and he's deceiving Vasilevsky, and that's why he's allowed to get these goals, right? He's holding them, which is something I did not expect to see out of him. Like, that's goal scoring moves that he is doing. And like Auston Kampf came to play, man. He's got 2 goals on the series so far. 2 goals.
He has more goals than the Calgary Flames right now.
Yeah.
I put that in the Discord. By the way, if you're not in our Discord, it was lit tonight in the Discord community.
Oh, hell yeah.
There were some tense moments, but guys were pumped up.
By the way, you're gonna have the Discord in the section below, right? In the
betcha.
Notes. Okay, so if y'all want, go ahead, join the Discord. It's a great community, honestly. If you're a massive Leafs fan, and if you're listening to this podcast, so you're still around 14 minutes into this thing, you probably are a big time Leaf fan. You want to join that Discord because it's a great Leafs community. It's awesome, and it allows us to kind of get in contact with all you guys. Just a big chat room. It's great. But yeah, it was lit tonight because there was guys just making big time plays, time after time after time on the offensive end and the defensive end. Jack Campbell. Here's the funny part about Jack, and I don't want to jinx it. I really don't. But we're 3 games in, and I've never once second-guessed the goaltending. And 3 weeks ago, I wasn't sure what the hell the goaltending was going to look like. And here we are, we're 3 games in. Jack Campbell's out-dueling Andrei Vasilevsky. Straight up, out-dueling him.
Yeah. What did I say though in the beginning of the series? If the Leafs get average goaltending, they have a chance. Anything better than that, it's found money, and that's what the Leafs are getting right now. I'm gonna also add. I'm gonna try a little something here. Little Paul Hendrick tweet.
Okay.
13 Leafs player combined to block 17 shots tonight, led by Mitch Marner's 4. It's all about that 200-foot game.
Yeah, he blocked that one with his foot and went back.
I was just like, oh, no, please no.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I love it though. Like, that's the type. If you're not going to contribute on the offensive end, at the very least, you got to do that, right? You got to at least do that and contribute in other ways. So Mitch Marner found his way to do it. We're not going to sit here. We're not going to put slander on Nylander and Tavares just yet. We'll get there in a minute. Let's keep the positive vibes going. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, this was a team that was playing selfless tonight. This was a team that really, right from the drop of the puck, they got going. They scored 5 minutes in. They take the life out of the building with that goal, and ultimately, it looks like the lineup adjustments that Sheldon Keefe did today paid off. I thought Spezza actually looked decent. You know, a couple of plays that he was able to make, and that fourth line didn't get quite crucified like maybe they
No, I
had
thought they were
before
pretty
the
good in
season.
that.
Right? I thought that they were pretty good too. And
Saw a
then,
little Michael Bunting on there and that on the fourth line too at times. I was like,
well,
ooh,
they started to juggle it up in the third period, right? Kerfoot went back up to the first line, Bunting went to the fourth line, and Engvall ended up getting up on that third line with Kampf, McCabe, and Engvall. And like that's their shutdown line, right? Like that is
yeah,
the legitimate, that is the shut down line that that Sheldon Keefe has always wanted. So when you're in a one goal game, that's situational hockey, right? Situational hockey, and that's what I think makes Sheldon Keefe an unbelievable coach. Because the fact that he's not afraid to tinker with his lines at certain parts of the game, and that's one where he's like, okay, we have a one goal lead. When we got Kucherov out there, where we're up against Kucherov and Stamkos, I want Engvall, McCabe, and Kampf, the guy, my three best defenders out there on the ice. And defenders, I mean like defensive forwards, out there on the ice together, shutting those guys down. So he ends up mixing up the lines a little bit to make sure he gets that shutdown because they don't need any more goals. They're up by 2 to start the third, and they were still up by 1. They just got to make sure that nothing gets past them, right? So doing that, that's situational hockey, and that's just brilliance by Sheldon Keefe. So a little bit of a hat tip to him. And the fact that he didn't put Kyle Clifford in. He didn't put Wayne Simmons in. And it seemed like Tampa early on, they felt like, okay, maybe we could push them around and kind of, puff our chest out a little bit. They ended up taking stupid penalties
yeah,
because of it, right?
a
And,
lot of
and,
them.
and then the Leafs just weren't responding. They're like, okay, fine, go ahead. Take your trip to the sin bin. Like, go ahead, give us a power play. That's how they got on the board real early, right?
Yes,
Get
and
on
it's
the
not like
power
the
play.
Leafs were just letting it happen either. Like they stood up for themselves, but they were smart about it.
Yeah, exactly. Between the whistles, the way it has to be. And you're not going over the line. Like a little bit of pushing and shoving, you're going to get away with that. That's fine and dandy. That's playoff hockey. But when you go out there and you dump a guy, you take his leg and you take him underneath, or you go and you cross check the dude across the back of the neck, that's going to get you a penalty, Wayne Simmons. But if you just go in there and you just kind of talk a little bit, throw a little face wash, you're going to be okay with that. You're going to get away with that. So not having like those, guys who toe the line out there to get agitated by the play of the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think was a smart call, and it really did. It worked out for the Maple Leafs for sure.
Yeah, and we talked about it, at length in our pregame video, and I said there was a good chance, especially would get in. I was just concerned that Keefe was going to overthink it a little bit and try to get a physical presence. I think this should give some a little bit of comfort knowing, all right, the Leafs don't need it because other guys will just kind of step up and just you don't have to have a guy punch just a guy in there because he punches someone or he can, get into a fight. The Leafs don't need that. Like I can't remember who mentioned it in the broadcast before the game, but they basically said, you watch what happened in game 2. seeing how things went down for the Leafs and went against Leafs, it's a bit of a message to the rest of the team and saying, all right, we don't need to do that because we know what happens when we're undisciplined. The Leafs' discipline was really good. And even though there were some calls that I'm just like,
Oh, the one on Muzzin at the end of the game, like, that one was just brutal. Like, the Justin Hall penalty, you don't wanna take that, but that's a pretty clear that's
Mhm.
a penalty, right? And that one, I don't know why he tried to grab him, like, you gotta get on the inside of that guy. You can't let him get inside on you, but regardless, that's a holding call. I knew that was a penalty the second I saw it. The Muzzin one was brutal, and then the Lyubushkin one even was it
Yeah.
Lyubushkin who ended up taking the call? Like, that one was a little soft too. So, really, the only egregious call that I guess they took was Justin Hall, but still, it's a between the whistles call on a guy who was going in on a breakaway. Like, it's those are ones you don't mind taking, right? Even at the end of the day, like, you don't want to ever take a penalty, but if there was a time, it's when you're giving up a breakaway, right? Like, to negate a scoring chance. It's almost like in basketball, you get a hard foul when someone's got a clear lane to the net. You hard foul them, you make them earn that goal. You make them earn that basket. And it's similar in hockey. Obviously, you don't try and do it as hard. It's not as deliberate, but sometimes you got to do it, right, to negate that scoring chance. And Hall tried his best to not take a penalty, but at the end of the day, he didn't allow Hagel to score, right? Didn't allow him to score. So ultimately, yeah, I thought that they played between the whistle. They played a rather clean game. How about that Vasilevsky playing the puck that didn't get called? Like, that's just so. How do you go and you call the Jake Muzzin hook, which was the softest thing I've ever seen in my life? Literally, a little tap on the glove, if anything, didn't impede the play at all. But whatever you want to call that, go ahead. But when there are penalties in the rule book that are black and white, such as playing the puck outside of your trapezoid, you gotta call those. That's like puck over glass. You gotta call it. It's black or white. Either the puck was played outside in the no-go zone or it wasn't. And it very clearly was. And that was at a pivotal point in the game where they had just killed off a penalty. They could have went back on the power play and really took momentum back in that game and potentially scored to ice it. Luckily, it didn't come back to cost them. But like the officiating the last couple of games were fine. I was okay with it because it seemed even, I suppose, but tonight it really seemed a little, or it was consistent. Tonight seemed very inconsistent to me.
Yeah, I know. And that's something that, it's going to be something you're going to have to live with. Like, the and the thing is who are they going to call this penalties on, right? It's a little easier to call penalties on certain players than on the superstar players because the coaches are just going to lay into the refs more. And I think there's more pressure to call the penalties on the superstar players. Like,
But again, Dave, like I'm referring to like the Vasilevsky
well, no, the
one
Vasilevsky,
in
that's black.
particular.
Like, you can't. There's no judgment call there.
That's what I mean, right? Like some of the like a hooking call or a holding
Yeah,
call, like that could be subjective, right? Like, I can let that go, or I'm gonna call it. Like you can make that decision. You can't sit there and like make a subjective call on playing the puck outside the trapezoid. Like that's a 100% black and white penalty or non-penalty if you do that, or it's just a flat out penalty if you do that. And he did, and it went uncalled. And that can't happen
no.
realistically. Like that's
That's the one play where it's like you want someone upstairs to call the refs down and say, "Look at this play. You missed this one."
I don't even know if you need to call down, but like you could definitely I suppose you're right, like call down, but it doesn't even it could be immediate. Like I
Yeah,
told you from sitting in my living room that he most definitely played that. And alls you have to do if you're an official is have a screen be about 4 seconds delayed right beside you. And then you see a play and you're like, oh, what was that? And you quickly look over and you wait the 3 seconds. You'll notice that 100% was played. And you could buzz down and be like, hey, by the way, you might want to call that one, and then you call it, right? Like right afterwards. You don't even have to wait for a whistle. You could just make that call.
yeah,
I
I
don't know
know.
if we're ever going to get the eyes in the sky
We won't.
referee in hockey. Probably not, but it's another circumstance where it would come in handy. Now, again, luckily it didn't cost the Maple Leafs the game,
That
right? So if it would have, probably be a bit different story. If we're sitting here, instead of sitting here right now talking about a 5-2 win, we could be sitting up still on our couches watching overtime if if it didn't go well. for Toronto there, but it didn't. So we're happy. Good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes.
That's the only thing I'm saying is as long as you're okay if it doesn't cost the team anything, but it could have easily have done that. And that's, I think maybe now knowing that there's actually attention on it, the rest will be a little more cognizant of those
Mhm.
types of plays going forward.
So game 3 in the books. That one's over. Toronto wins it 5-2. Take a 2-1 series lead in the best of 7. What are you doing in game 4? Making any lineup changes? Are you going to roll back with the same bunch?
I think you're going to likely see a form of Kerfoot, Nylander, and Tavares. I think you're going to.
But is anyone coming out and going in? Is more so like, are we going to see any bodies swapping?
No, I don't think so. Like, you try to stick with a winning lineup. It's much easier to make changes after a loss than after. Unfortunately for Liljegren, it likely means he's out. I think they just had Justin Hall in there for the PK effect. That's what I thought it was. Really, do I agree with it? Not particularly, but he didn't cost them the game, or like. So that's the thing, right? You don't try to change a winning lineup.
Mhm.
I think maybe you see Liljegren come back in when the Leafs are back at home. I think that's a strategy that Sheldon Keefe is playing here.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Justin Hall. He was on the ice, had a better shot share when he was on the ice. 52% of the shot share. He had 60% of the shots in general in favor of the Maple Leafs while he was out on the ice, and a 67% expected goal differential when he's out there on the ice tonight. So Justin Hall, I thought he had a good game, a positive game for sure. You don't like to see the penalty that he took. But again, it negated a scoring chance. So there was a purpose to the penalty. It's those nonsense calls that Wayne Simmons took in game 2 that bother me. But those purposeful penalties you can live with, especially if they don't end up costing you. Um, but I agree with you. I don't believe we'll see any lineup changes. I think you roll with the same formula. It works. And at the end of the day, I think I was talking about this the other day after game 3 or after game 2 when we were chatting with Tony Ferrari. This team has won all year with skill. Go with Spezza. Get your skill guys out there. Put together the most skilled skilled lineup you have, because that's what you wrote all year long. Like, why are you deviating away from your game? Play
Exactly.
your game. It's a skilled game. Play it. You're never gonna beat Tampa at their own game, right? So you got to do what you do best, and hopefully that's good enough to win. That's exactly what we saw happen tonight. Leafs now 6-2 in the last 8 games at Amalie Arena. 6-2 in the last 8 games. Pretty good.
It's not
Not
bad.
too shabby, right? Home ice, schmo ice. That said, now for the bad, I guess. We'll quickly touch on some of the stuff that we didn't appreciate out of this game that I believe will need to change going into game 4, because you're not going to get away with too many games where your big 4 go cold and still win the game, right? I don't think that'll happen again in this series. But that's exactly what kind of happened. I mean, Nylander and Tavares did absolutely nothing tonight, in my opinion. I mean, I did not really see them doing a whole lot. When they were out there, they had a 28% expected goals for was that for John Tavares? Yeah, 28%, dude. Let me see what it was as a line. Hold on a second. Looking it up really quickly. So Tavares, along with Kasha and Nylander, were together out there, 36% expected goal rates. Didn't have They had 3 shots on net the entire game. 3 shots on net. I don't think they had many scoring chances. Just 2 scoring chances for, 6 against. Like, it's just not good enough when they're not mustering up anything. Like,
No.
literally anything. Um, and even you look at, Marner and Matthews and Bunting, those 3, they played 6.5 minutes of ice time tonight. They were outshot 1-5 at 5-on-5. They had 1 shot as a line at 5-on-5 matched up against Cirelli and Braden Point. And this is what I was talking about yesterday, where having home ice advantage, it allows you to get that last change. You can match up how you want. And Cirelli is so good. I mean, guys, Cirelli is like a baby Bergeron. Like, he's
Yeah,
forming into that.
person.
And he completely shuts guys down. And Point's not far off either from being a Selke candidate himself. And those guys just absolutely shut these guys down. Only one scoring chance for, and they gave up 5 to those guys, a 16% expected goal differential out there on the ice.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the numbers now. Like they were pretty flat out dominant in terms of when they were
I'll
on.
tell you exactly what the number. I'll tell you Auston Matthews numbers against Anthony Cirelli straight up. So Auston Matthews against Anthony Cirelli, and keep in mind, these were a lot worse before Matthews had those 2 chances on Vasilevsky in the third period.
That was a
So
nice save.
that was a beautiful save, and at one point, I was considering that being the kind of turning point in the game. If they would have come back and won, that would have been the turning point, but didn't happen. Leafs got the victory. They're eating dubs tonight. But this is Auston Matthews' numbers against Anthony Cirelli straight up. 11 minutes and 6 seconds of ice time at 5-on-5 tonight. Shot share, only 36% of the shots came from Auston Matthews' team while out there against Anthony Cirelli. Only 9 shot attempts, 16 shot attempts against with Cirelli and Braden Point. You want to look at scoring chances? How about this for scoring chances? 8 scoring chances against and just 5 scoring chances for. Keep in mind, a couple of those came on that one rush. That one rush, he got 2 of his 5 there. So you take away that one rush, and those are the only high danger chances that they were able to get tonight. 2 high danger chances, and they were both off that single rush, and they allowed 4 themselves. You look at the expected goal rate with Cirelli out on the ice. Actually, again, those 2 chances kind of ballooned everything. When I checked, it was right before that. The expected goals was, let me pull it up on the Twitter, because it was not very good. It was hold on, Dave. Let's fill some time really quickly as my computer is slowly getting myself to Twitter here.
Yeah, no, like when I watched, I mean that Oz first, like other than the Jack Campbell save on Steven Stamkos, I thought the save on Auston Matthews was going to be the save of the night. Like with Tampa trailing, needing to get back into the game, Andrei Vasilevsky just does what Andrei Vasilevsky does and makes those 2 saves. Oh, let's also not forget Marner hit the post right after that.
Right.
I thought that was in. I thought that was one of those, oh, it hit the post, but no, I must have hit the inside of the post because of the way it came out. Nope, double bar. You just love to see that.
So prior to that shift, he had only 4 shot attempts and 12. Yeah, 4 shot attempts while on the ice, and that's not for him. That's the whole line. And then 12 against while he was out on the ice. I did not clip what the expected goals was, but it was somewhere in the 30s, if I recall. Somewhere in the 30s.
Not great.
And then those 2 chances ended up allowed because they were high danger quality, and that's essentially what expected goals are. It's just, shot quality, essentially, which made it go up to like 50%. But at the end of the day, Matthews and Marner virtually, they were shut down tonight. They really were. And going into game 3, they got to figure out a way to get around that. They got to figure out a way to break through and score against Anthony Cirelli. They've got to get away from him. The one thing that I kind of think I want to see a little bit more of is Matthews being a little bit more elusive. When he was rocking and rolling, when he scored 50 goals in a 50-game span, when he was in the offensive zone, he did a lot of like weaving in and out of traffic, trying to find open space. I find right now he's getting a little bit too complacent, just trying to like set up in like that Stamkos Ovechkin office, and he's just trying to score from the dot. Do you find that? I feel like I consistently see that he's trying to score in like that one specific area, as opposed to moving all around the ice and trying to like I said, weave in and out of traffic, lose himself in the play, and find himself open in a good spot on the ice where he can get a really good shot attempt and a good opportunity. Didn't do that tonight, and Cirelli is the reason why. He anticipates plays. That's what makes him so good. He anticipates where the puck is going and where Matthews wants to get to, and he beats him there. And that's really, to me, which was a tough part for Auston tonight, and he's got to figure out a way to beat that. That's the adjustment he's got to make. He's got to do something to get through and past Anthony Cirelli in Game 4.
Yeah, Auston Matthews needs to remember that he's Auston Matthews. Like it's all about using his big frame to get into the position, the areas that he wants to score in. Right. Um, the Lightning are just going to force him into the areas they want him to be. They'll give him those areas that he's trying to get those scoring chances of, as you mentioned. It's up to him to kind of say, no, I actually want to score from here, so I'm going to do what I can to get to that area. It's going to be an adjustment. He's like, he didn't play with against Anthony Cirelli a lot in the first few games, so this is new to him. He's got to just he's going to make the adjustments. Sheldon Keefe they'll go over it. Like these guys all study the film. They all know what they all look at. Okay, what didn't I do right? What can I do to kind of put myself in a better position? So I have faith that Matthews will be bouncing back. I mean, we saw what he did the last time he played in Tampa before tonight. He'll find those opportunities.
Yeah, no, I'm not doubting at
Oh, yeah.
all that he can flip the switch and turn it on. It's just it's a tough game. And tonight, Cirelli won the matchup. Flat out. Cirelli won it. But again, this is a 7-game series. There will be as many as 3 games in Amalie Arena. Cirelli took game 1. We'll see if or game 3, I guess, but game 1 on their home ice. We'll see who ends up bursting through with that matchup on Sunday. Something tells me that Marner and Matthews will come back better than they were tonight, and they'll be a much bigger force, and probably early on, if I had to say. That would be my projection. But also, just Matthews, Nylander, Tavares got to also get going here.
Yeah. Here we keep saying, "Oh, who's the third guy going to be with them to do it?" I said, at this rate, it's got to be on them. I'm at that point. It doesn't matter who is riding shotgun on that line because it's got to be up to 2 of them to.
Dude, they make what 18 million between the two, and they need someone else to elevate them.
No, that's not going to work anymore. Like I think what it was tonight too. Tavares was not good on the faceoffs. He struggled. Like he was. First game, I think it was like 81%. Second, it was 74%. And he was at like 43% tonight. Something
40%, yeah, 40% tonight.
So that's not John Tavares. He's got to be better on the faceoffs. I would assume that's going to be a big change for him because him chasing the play doesn't work. He can't chase the play. He's not quick. And people give him the cement legs. He's not quick, but he's powerful. He's got strength. He's hard to defend because he's so hard to battle against because he's just so strong. That's the part of the game he needs to get back to, right? Nylander's game is all about, transitioning the puck out of the zone. So it's got to be Tavares getting it to Nylander, getting that puck out, and getting your opportunities that way. Nylander can cycle like nobody's business.
Yeah.
He's got to get back to that. I don't know if there's something bothering them, but yeah, no, I think it says something that the Leafs are up in this series and they haven't even been that big. They haven't been a factor really.
That when I first started the podcast, if you've made it this late in the pod, appreciate you so much. The first thing that I said, and kind of our opening before we went to our intro was, I said, the superstars didn't come to play, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, and I'll tell you why. Well, now's where I'm telling you why. The fact that they are up 2-1, and neither Nylander and Tavares have really factored in here, means that this team, they're getting offense from other places.
Mm-hmm.
And once those two I'm hoping and assuming eventually one of the two will pop. One of those two will get going. Then Toronto's really at an advantage,
Oh,
right? So the fact that you can go and you can win a game where Marner, Matthews, Nylander, and Tavares all get shut down like they did tonight, and still put 5 goals, 2 empty netters, but still score and win the game. I mean, what more could you ask for? A night that's what secondary scoring and depth is supposed to do for you. Your superstars your superstars will win you a majority of the games, but on the nights where they just don't have it or the nights that they just can't get anything going for whatever reason, you have to rely on those depth guys to step up. In the years past, that has been the case, right?
yeah.
Matthews and Marner went cold last year in Montreal. No one else stepped up. Has been the case this year. You got 2 goals from McCabe. You got 2 goals from Kampf. You got a goal from Morgan Riley. You got a goal from who else has scored in this series so far? Blackwell scored tonight. Like you're getting scoring from other guys up and down your lineup, and it's not necessary. And you don't necessarily just need the big boys to go out and win you games. You're still getting victories with them struggling. Imagine if once they put it all together, man, I think this team legitimately has Stanley Cup aspirations. And I'm not just saying that. I legitimately see this team at full steam ahead, right? This team completely playing at the height of what they can do. This team can compete and win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, no. And if you want to even simplify things for Tavares and Nylander to get better, just thought process in my head. What they do so well is they get to the net. They have shown that they can get to the net. They haven't been doing that as much. They've been content, and Tampa's been doing a good job of forcing them to the outside. They got it. Their bread and butter is right in front of the net. I remember Nylander scoring all those goals. He went on that crazy goal streak because he was right in that wheelhouse. He's
Yeah.
got to get back to that. That's what playoff hockey is all about. I think the other guys have realized it. They've figured out ways to catch the Lightning off guard in terms of no one expected David Kampf to do this. Well, maybe everybody but David Kampf thought he was able to do this.
Dude, David Kampf has turned out to be, at this point, so far through 3 games, the unsung hero, the X factor we didn't know we needed and wanted. So,
We get it.
love to see it. What's
David
going on
Kampf's
here?
calling right now saying thank you.
No, it's not. Maybe it is. Maybe it is David Kampf. All right, Dave. This was a blast. It's our first ever YouTube exclusive podcast that we've done. We were just so jacked up. We had to do an immediate reaction podcast to the game. And plus, I mean, we know we're going to have tons to talk about on Monday stemming off of game 4. So instead of trying to jam 2 episodes into one, we thought let's do one for our YouTube clan, the YouTube fam. I hope you guys enjoyed it at the end of the day. Hope you guys also enjoyed the game. Hope you enjoy the game on Sunday as Toronto tries to extend their series lead. All right, Dave. It was a blast. It was a pleasure. But that's going to do it for us here today on the pod. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. Remember, subscribe, hit the like button down below. And how about you leave us a comment of what do we want to ask the folks? What's the question of the day down in the comments section? I got it. Game 4 prediction. Game 4 prediction. Leave it down below in the comment section. Smash that like button. And please subscribe. Once we get to 1,000 subscriptions on YouTube, we're giving away a jersey. Giving away a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey, and not a fake one either, by the way. It's
I can't. I detest fake jerseys. You will never see
it's
a fake
legit.
jersey in my collection. So don't worry, guys.
Not a $20 one that you get from Pacific Mall. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks everybody for listening to the show. We'll be back with some more podcast stuff on Monday. We'll be back through audio form on Monday, also video on YouTube. Just a reminder, we do videos each day, Monday through Friday. Follow myself on Twitter at Make_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti. Follow our Discord, which is going to be in the notes below. Subscribe to our podcast channel. both audio and video. And also subscribe on Twitter at Locked On Leafs. We're trying to get much more interactive with our fan base, and all of these platforms is a way to try and do that. So please go ahead and do that as well. All right, we're back on Monday, ladies and germs. I don't know why I said ladies and germs, Dave. I think we're going to take that out of the podcast. Can we take that out of the podcast? Don't know
Nope,
why
I'm leaving that in.
never in my life said that. Never in my life have I ever said that. Like, what the hell's wrong with me?
You're high off the David Kampf career game. That's what it is.
Apparently. All right, we gotta call it a night here.
We gotta bounce before Mike says anything real dumb.
That's right. We'll be back Monday. Until then, keep locked right here on Locked On.